What's going on, guys? Pad Player here, and we're doing another keyboard review. The reason why I'm in the car doing this video is because I literally just got off of work and I have just enough time to make it over to Guitar Center, where we will be doing a box open review of the new version of the Casio cdp 130. It's a digital piano. It's designed for beginner and intermediate players, and I'm going to be opening it along with the Guitar Center Associates, which is going to be pretty awesome. And we're going to figure out how this thing works. So next thing you see is going to be me in front of Guitar Center going in and checking this thing out. Let's go ahead and get started. Hey, Rod.
What's up, man? How you
How's
feeling?
it going? Doing good, man.
Good,
How's
man.
it going?
Good. Can't complain.
So is this it?
This is keyboard, man. This is that Casio. Getting ready to open it up. So it's the CDP 135 I was telling you about, man.
That's fantastic. Let's go ahead and open her up.
Cool, man. Let's see what she looks like.
So, Rod, tell me what you think about the new Casio.
Man, this thing surprised the heck out of me. It feels great. It has a great sound to it. You can't go wrong. I mean, depends on what you're using it for. I think a professional could use it or a beginner. I'm blown away by it.
I just love the sleekness of the look for the Casio. I just feel like there's a lot of beginner, intermediate keyboards that have too much functionality on the top.
Yeah.
And you just feel a little overwhelmed when you look at it originally. And I feel like for a beginner player, looking at something like this just is very, very sleek and simple. And as we know, simpler is better to sell.
Right.
Especially for a beginner player.
Right.
Than for something that just has a lot of functionality. One thing that I'm reminded of is the Core Chronos.
Oh yeah.
Talk about going from beginner to like the advanced professional realm. The Core Chronos still looks very, very classy, very sleek in its design, but this kind of reminds me of a beginner's version of that. I love the fact that you can get your functionality from the keys themselves. You hold the function bar and you click on what you need and you keep going. There's no display interface, but it can also be used as a what's the word I'm looking for?
A mini board?
A mini board.
A mini controller, yeah.
It still can be used as a mini board on a doll, which is great. It has the USB plug-in in the back, so in case you actually take the next step and go into something that's a little bit more professional, I guess you could say is the right word, that this would definitely be able to do it.
Oh yeah.
So let's talk about some of the other keyboards we have out there. You know this place way better than I do.
Yeah.
How would you compare this Casio to some of the other beginner style keyboards that you guys have at the moment?
Man, this is way better. Like, I would compare this to the Yamaha keyboard that's on this line. What model is that?
Is it the P61?
P61, and it's the P100, 110?
Yeah, okay.
Yep, the P110. I would definitely compare it to that. Kind of same functionalities.
I would agree. I've played the P61 a few times.
Yeah, and Yamaha is one of my favorite keyboards. So, but Casio, man, this is great job, Casio. Great job.
Fantastic job, I would say so. I mean, and I was fooling around a little bit with the old model, the 130.
Yeah.
And I was surprised by the feeling of these weighted keys. I mean, you have the full function weighted keys on this keyboard for the price that you're getting is very, very nice.
Yeah.
Obviously they're not wooden.
Right.
It's not the baby grand feel, but it works. It has the gradient to where the keys on the top have a lighter weight to them than the keys on the bottom. So you definitely get that functionality feel of fully weighted keys.
Right.
And to get an 88 key fully weighted with a lot of functionality for what, $400?
Right.
This is a very, very nice buy.
Yeah.
Let's kind of change the subjects a little bit. We talked about functionality. There's a lot of there's actually a lot of functionality on this keyboard that a lot of people wouldn't see, and that is the keys interface and how you can change your pad, the reverb, the
chorus,
the effects that you can actually have on the keys. So tell me about that. Tell me about what you found there.
Man, it's pretty cool. You have several different types of reverb that you can select to choose from. It's actually 10 different reverbs that you can choose from, and then you have 5 different choruses that you can use. So you got a total of 15 different different effects that you can use for it. I found that very cool. Then also you have different sounds and different patches. So you have it's about 3 different electric piano sounds. You have 3 different grand piano sounds. You have string patches, harpsichord, organ patches. So it's pretty cool, and the sounds are really good on it. You know, I'm very impressed.
You know something I didn't notice until now? It has the touch response on the left-hand side.
Wow, I didn't see that.
Which means that you can actually do more sensitive touch on the keys, in case that's more your style. Maybe you have a piano that is much more sensitive on the keys, or maybe you're a beginner player and you have no idea what we're talking about. You can actually turn that off, so you don't have to worry about how sensitive you're actually hitting those keys. And you can kind of get used to that as you go, and there's a sensitivity level. That, I don't know if I've ever seen that before.
I have not.
On a Casio keyboard.
Right.
So that is really, really cool.
I don't think I've seen it in any keyboard on this line, on this level.
No, I agree. I mean, and once again, it's usually on a big display screen in the middle of the keyboard. And it literally has it all laid out, almost analog style.
Yep.
But there's no analog switches.
No,
it's... I gotta say, I think it's one of the cleanest keyboards I've ever seen.
Yeah. I agree, man. I agree.
And one more thing that I really want to emphasize, I feel like, of a strength in this keyboard, is the speakers. You know, they're not fantastic. Let's just be honest. But I have played a lot of beginner keyboards where the speakers really don't pick up the low frequencies. The low octaves are very, very muddy. And as we were playing this, I just noticed that it was pretty clean. But let's just be honest. If you have a nice amp, maybe like the Roland KC550, you know, if you got one of those things, then you're not going to have to worry about the speakers on the top. You're going to get really nice quality sound regardless of what's actually on the keyboard. So I imagine that this is going to work out really nicely.
Oh yeah, I agree.
So, anything else you want to mention about this thing?
Man, it's just go get one. Beginner or professional, like professionals, man, it's a great board to have. Like the piano sound great. You can also MIDI into it. It does have that USB feature on it, so you can use it as a MIDI board, and you can get the other sounds and everything, man.
So, all right, man. Rod.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much for bringing me in.
No problem, man.
We're gonna take this back over to the house and take a comparison to some of the other keyboards that are out there.
Cool.
All right. Well, that was a lot of fun over at Guitar Center. But what we need to do now is we need to do a little comparison to some other keyboards. And the 2 keyboards that I decided to choose this time around is the Williams Legato 88 key and the P61 Yamaha. So the 2 keyboards that we're actually comparing the Casio to, you can actually find a link to in the description down below as one of the top 5 keyboards, or digital pianos, I should say, under $500. And so I feel like this is a very good comparison for the Casio. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. The first thing I want to talk about is the display, and I feel like the Casio is just amazing in this category. I feel like it's one of the cleanest digital pianos I've ever seen. And it's mainly because of the speaker location and what you actually have on top of the keyboard itself. You only have a few buttons sitting on top of the keyboard. All of the functionality, you actually have to hold the function tab, and then you can actually use the keys to change the pad or change the reverb onto the Casio. And so I feel like the Casio just kind of wins in this category for display. And a lot of people are like, well, does that really need to make a difference? And it actually does, because digital pianos are most commonly found in living rooms and bedrooms. And if any of you guys have a wife out there, they're going to want that keyboard to look very, very good, because aesthetically pleasing for them is very, very important. When you have guests over, you don't want something that looks very, very futuristic, or just doesn't really go well with everything else in the room. And I feel like the Casio does the best job as far as its display when put into a home setting. I mean, if you think that's not the case, my wife even told me that she doesn't really like the Nord Stage 2 because it's red. Next thing I want to talk about is user interface. And I feel like the Casio in this category, in comparison to the other two keyboards, falls just a little bit. And the only reason why I say that is because unless you actually play the Casio and you've played previous versions of it, you're not really going to be used to the whole hold the function key down in order to actually figure out or to actually turn on a different feature that's on the keyboard. And that can be a little confusing if you haven't had one before. But even if you've had one before, you have nothing to show you what you're currently on, or what sort of function that you're currently on, or what pad you're currently on. And so I feel like as far as user interface goes, even for the professional player, I feel like it just kind of falls a little bit in this category in comparison to the other two keyboards, because the other two keyboards light up, and so you can actually see what pad you're actually currently playing on, as opposed to the Casio. And I feel like that's one of the major downsides to the Casio keyboard at the moment. Now, if they added something to that functionality that would actually cause it to show some kind of display, it would ruin the cleanliness of the keyboard. So it's a little bit of a catch-22 situation right there. But that also leads to the stage presence. I feel like in comparison to the other two keyboards, I would rather have either one of those two keyboards than have the Casio, mainly because you have no idea what pad you're currently on with the Casio. There's no way of knowing. At least with the Yamaha P61, there's a little red indicator that identifies what pads you're currently using. And you definitely don't want to start playing and it's an organ instead of a piano. So I've had that happen before. It's a long story, but I'm not going to go into it at the moment. But the truth is that if you're going to use this for a stage presence keyboard, I just feel like the other two keyboards, the Yamaha P61 and the Williams Legato, are going to do a little bit better than the Casio. Not that it wouldn't do well. I mean, you just have to think about it. You know, it's in comparison to two keyboards that are in the top 5 keyboards or digital pianos under $500. So it's not like it wouldn't function well on stage. It's just that the other two keyboards would function better. Now let's go to the quality of the speakers and the piano pad itself. I feel like the Casio takes it with flying colors in this category. I feel like the Casio speakers just have this ability to be able to distinguish all the notes throughout an 88 key keyboard, which is a very difficult thing to do for something that's under $400 built into a digital piano. A lot of digital pianos, when they actually play some of the lower frequencies, can sound a little muddy, and I didn't really get that all that much with the Casio. I kind of got it with the P61. I've played that a few times. I've actually gotten that keyboard for a couple of people already. And I feel like the low end's just a little bit muddy, but the Casio seemed very, very clean. And the Williams Legato, I was listening to it on YouTube and I was listening to it at other venues, and I really felt like it was the same as the Yamaha P61 in that category. And so I feel like the Casio really takes this category in that respect. As far as overall performance, however, I feel like all three of these keyboards are equal, but not necessarily equal because they all do the same thing. I just feel like they all have the same quality level. And you might be looking at it going, well, if they all have the same quality level, why am I not going for the Williams Legato at the moment? Well, first of all, that is a sale that Guitar Center is actually having at the moment. So if you really want to get one of those, this is a very good time to get one. But also, the deal is also going on for the Casio cdp 135. That is not just the keyboard. That price includes a pedal, a chair, and a stand. All of those 4 things are combined into that $399. So for $400, you can have a full setup to actually play immediately, which to me is a phenomenal deal when it comes to people who are just getting started, just getting on their feet when it comes to learning keys. this is a great buy. And like I said, you can find both the Casio and the Williams at Guitar Center for the associated price that you see there. And even the Yamaha P61, you'll find variants of the P61 also over at Guitar Center for different prices, but it's actually an 88 key instead of a 61 key. But that's a wrap for me. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a like down below. And if you like what I'm doing on this channel, please subscribe. I'd greatly appreciate it. And as always, my name is Steve, and you can call me the Pad Player. Thanks a lot, guys, and hope to catch you next time.